is Monday, May 13th, 2013, a few minutes after 7 p.m. And I will call the May regular meeting of 2013 to order. We have a few folks who are running a little bit behind. I spoke with our city attorney, Travis, and he'll be a little bit late this evening. And I know Gus and Lynn Payton are not going to be here tonight as well. I'll start the agenda with the mayor's comments. The first thing I want to say and admit is I was wrong. At our last meeting, we had a motion that was made, and I tabled that motion. And I'm happy to acknowledge when I'm wrong, and I was wrong in doing so. I falsely believe that under the Roberts Rules of Order, I had the right to do so. As it turns out, I do not. Since that time, I've picked up the official Roberts Rules of Order, newly revised 11th edition, and the Roberts Rules of Order, newly revised in brief, and I've studied up on those. I won't say I'm an expert, but I'm certainly a lot more prepared than I was at our last meeting. Again, that was my mistake. In the past, I had tabled things in that fashion, and there wasn't any objection from anyone. I'd done it at the request of aldermen several times before, and believing that was something within my rights, and it turns out it's not. I apologize publicly. Beyond that, I have a proclamation. I want to read that. Chief. To recognize National Police Week 2013 and to honor the service and sacrifice of those law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty while protecting our communities and safeguarding our democracy. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas the members of the law enforcement agency of the City of Buffalo play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of Buffalo, Missouri, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that member of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And whereas the men and women of the law enforcement agency of Buffalo, Missouri unceasingly provide a vital public service. Now therefore, I, Mayor of the City of Buffalo, Missouri, call upon all citizens of Buffalo, Missouri, and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 12th through the 18th, 2013, as Police Week, with the appropriate ceremonies and observances in which all of our people may join in commemorating law enforcement officers, past and present, who, by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities, have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in doing so have established for themselves an inviolable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. I further call upon the citizens of Buffalo, Missouri to observe the 15th day of May 2013 as Peace Officers Memorial Day, in honoring those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice and service to their community or have become disabled in the performance of duty, and let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Buffalo, Missouri to be affixed. Chief Parsons.
Thank you, Mayor.
And I thank you and your officers for their service. All right, next item on the agenda, modifications to the agenda. Are there any motions pertaining to modifications to the agenda? See none. Next item on our agenda, citizen comments. Are there any citizen comments this evening? I see none. Next item on our agenda, minutes and bills.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
before we approve the minutes and the bills, don't we have to raise the spending limit of the transportation fund so we can pay these bills? Since we're over budget, don't we have to bring it in line?
I don't think there's,
We can spend up deficit money. I mean, it's just a motion to make to
If,
bring it up to date and make it level.
if you want to make a motion, we will entertain a motion, and then we'll go ahead and proceed to debate that.
Debbie,
Yes.
how much money do we need to bring the transportation fund in line?
I stuck in the revised budget that's on the agenda for tonight, which is more than what it's at now, to increase it to $350,000 for this fiscal year.
And we are at what now? 275?
Yeah, I don't have those pages on me. Just a second, and I'll get something.
We just need to make it a level playing field instead of authorizing bills without authorizing and authorizing bills without authorizing. There's money.
As of April 30th, you were at $298,600.
298, so we need 52,000 to bring it in line, pay the bills. Is that right, Debbie?
I'm sorry.
Do we need $52,000 to bring it in line and pay the bills?
That would be, yeah, that would bring it back in line, yeah.
Mayor, I make a motion that we raise the that we complete the transportation fund by $52,000 for Locust Street, to make the Locust Street balance and pay their bills when they come in down tonight.
We have a motion on the floor. I'll open the matter for debate. Mr. Stafford, you made that motion. Would you like to speak on behalf of that motion?
I think we have to have it clear. We can't spend deficit money. We can't pay a bill until the budget's been balanced.
Would anyone else like to speak on the motion? See no further debate, and I apologize. I did not call the motion. I'll state the motion. The motion was to. I'm sorry, Mr. Stafford. Will you restate your motion?
That we move, that we raise the spending of the transportation fund to $52,000 to take care of the Locust Street project.
Okay, I'll state the motion. The motion is to move to raise spending by $52,000 to balance the budget for transportation. Is that correct?
For the Locust Street
For
project.
Locust Street. Mr. Stafford has spoken on that motion. Would anyone else like to speak on that motion? I will call the question. Ms. Paulson? Or, I'm sorry, Mark, do you have our? All right.
James,
Aye.
Larry,
Aye.
Brandon, Jess,
Aye.
Wayne, Christie. Aye.
All right, that motion passes.
I move that we approve minutes and bills.
Have a motion on the floor. I will open the floor for I will state the motion. The motion is to approve minutes and bills. Alderman Horn, would you like to speak on your motion?
I move to approve minutes and bills.
Is there any other debate on that motion? See no further debate, I will call the question. Please.
Christie. Aye. James. Wayne.
Aye.
Larry. Jess. Brandon.
All right, next item on our agenda is committee reports, the budget committee.
Yes, we met and we discussed some issues with the fire department. They had some requests at a previous meeting, and, we had all agreed that we would, like to fund the fire department, for those requests, and I would move that we, allocate $25,000 out of the capital improvement tax to fund the fire department, at the request that Eric has provided for us.
Okay, that motion is out of order. And that motion would be proper for new business. I will state that motion when we get to new business. Should you recall that motion at that time? Is there anything else from the budget committee?
That's it.
All right, department head reports. Our administration.
Anybody have any questions? There's a lot going on right now. Nuisances for research starting to pick up. I think the Y's all set to take over the pool. Water tank scheduled. The sidewalk. They're getting all their paperwork turned in. The health insurance is a big thing. That's $100 per employee per month. That increase is. So we sent out paperwork today to all the employees to let them know what they needed to do so that we could get quotes from other companies.
Would anyone like to be recognized for any questions of our administration? All right. Animal control. I believe we have a report from animal control. Any questions or comments from anyone wanting to be recognized regarding that report? No? Next
I did,
item.
I apologize, Mayor. I did have a question, but I guess she's not here to answer. I just had a question about the budget and the group that showed, the HFLCS group that showed up last week and explained some things. I maybe misunderstanding on my part. I just had some questions.
Sure. If you'll state your question, I'll take notes. Make sure that-
Just the question was that they had stated that they pay for all the spade neutering and a few other things. And then I was just curious on the bills. We had some spade and neutering costs, I believe from Wade's. And I just didn't know if I maybe misunderstood when they were speaking, saying that they took care of all of them. Then I was just curious why.
Yeah,
That's all.
It's my understanding that we discussed that in that meeting, and HFLCS was corrected, but we never got justification regarding what the city has spade and neuter different. So I'll look into, I'll look into that line. I have an answer for you, sir.
I appreciate it.
All right, our fire department.
Got those, stuff, any questions?
Anyone desire to be
Oh,
recognized?
it's on here, it's on
Thank you, sir. Parks and Recreation.
None really to add. I spoke with you earlier about locking up the new bathrooms at the new park. Stop off the audio with sand, see if we can get that worked out. We got water in the pool today, so it's all set up. Got some light issues we're working on, but Lamont's on it. Nothing. Every year we have something, or it's some wiring that we do. Nothing major.
Anyone desire to be recognized to question our Parks and Recreation?
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
After the fireworks display, we had a tremendous amount of damage to our walking paths. Where people had drove on them, struck the cars. And they're not repaired yet, but that's beside the point. And I believe that the people who put that on and damaged the street should be responsible for putting them back on. We did not.
And Alder and Stafford, your comments are not germane at this time. I'll go ahead and move that to new business and we'll take it up there. there, okay?
It's questions of the Parks Director, what he's doing about it.
Are you prepared to answer that at this time?
Yeah, we're gonna get dirt from Hells, and then, we're speaking with you in the office, to keep track of any kind of labor that we do. That way, because it says in their contract, I went back and read it, that they would cover all costs to any damage to the park, and that is considered damage around our walking trails, so we'll just bill them for any time that we do. I spoke with Roger on, I think, late last week, about when he gets the dirt from Hells and does all the backhoe work, that they will keep track of all that.
Is anyone else seeking the floor to ask questions of our Parks and Recreation Department? All right, our police department, sir.
Okay, for the month of April, we had 126 calls for service, 60 citations, 5 vehicle accidents. We had 15 arrests, which consisted of 8 warrant arrests, 2 each possession of controlled substance and driving while intoxicated, and 1 each for stealing, and then driving without license.
Does anyone desire to be recognized?
I have a question for the chief.
Recognize you and yield the floor to you, sir.
Sam, I noticed that you had 65 hours of overtime for your department this month. It doesn't show here because this was last month's. As tight as our budgets are getting, because you're already over your budget, isn't there something you can do to refrain from?
I wish it was. See,
Well, you've either got to do it.
I've got $570 just in court time, which is $200 overall monthly.
I understand, but if you don't do this, it's your responsibility to keep your department in budget.
Court costs. If we arrest people, we've got to do court costs.
Well, that's an awful lot of overtime.
It's court time. That's just court time.
60 hours of court time?
That's just court. No, not total 60. But we had $570 in court time just for the last 2 months period, one pay period for the month, and $381 is all we're allowed in overtime for the whole department per month. And that's just court time.
Well, I don't know, but whenever your budget gets out of hand and this council says, Sam, you haven't got any more money because we haven't got any more to pay you,
But if
you're gonna have to do something. I'm sorry, but out of budget's out of budget. We're tight enough on every department that we have.
I understand that, but if we don't
I
arrest these
understand where
people,
you're coming from. I don't need a lot of excuses. I understand what you're doing.
But the
But
reason
you're
it's not
gonna have to, this can't all be court time.
no, a lot of it is.
I didn't say, I understand that, but not all of it is. Now, if these guys are spending our money patrolling the streets on overtime, then it's gotta stop. I understand court time. You don't have a choice on that. But it can't be all court time, so you're allowing your boys to have more overtime just to patrol the streets.
There's $900 of that is being reimbursed by the
Yes,
state.
it is, I understand that. That's 10 hours. You have 10 hours granted out of the 75 hours of overtime. I mean, I really didn't fall off the water valve truck this morning, and I can tell you exactly how much every hour was for every individual. I'm just telling you that at your department, you're gonna have to watch your budget. You're already over. You spent $1,600 for computers that you didn't have authorization to buy unless the mayor authorized it. It was over your spending budget because you don't have that much budget authority. You're gonna have to watch your budget.
I'll let you have this and look at it. You understand?
It's, Sam, I appreciate it, but you gotta understand the
This
worth.
is what the overtime is proposed, and this is what we're allowed per month, and this is just in court time.
But you're running over your budget. Your budget as of April was 60%. Your budget should have been 58. This month is heavier than it was last month. You're spending,
I have to tell the officers not to arrest people. That's the only way I can keep that down, is don't arrest people.
well, I don't know,
I've
but
got to do the job.
I understand that, but you cannot, it cannot all be court time.
Well, the biggest part of it
It's
is.
gotta be some patrol
Right
time.
there is $600.
It's gotta be patrol time. And if it's patrol time, you can cut your patrol time down. I mean, if you need more help, you need to bake ball and steel and see, people, but if you don't,
But I budgeted for one that doesn't do that.
well, and you did because we've gotta watch the budget. So you're gonna, I mean, you've got to watch your budget. It's your department. It's your responsibility. It's not mine to say up here, remind you that you're out of budget. And you'll be a lot out of budget next month for the amount of money that you spent.
I just wanted you to understand why.
I understand why. I'm just saying that if it was court time, I could understand. If it's patrol time, you can cut that down.
You can see how much court time it is.
I can understand what court time is, but it is all not court time. What is relevant and what is court time, the city won't argue. We understand that. But patrol time, overtime is something that I myself don't think we need to be spending the money with a tight budget. If we had a lot of money, who cares? But it's a different situation. When we're tight in your department, we gotta watch Rogers, we gotta watch administration, we gotta watch what the mayor's department is, we gotta watch them all, so that we do not come up here at the end of next year and have a deficit spending. We had a deficit spending and nobody liked it last time. They sure won't like it at the rate that we're going. I mean, I'm not mad, Sam, I'm just trying to make a point.
I understand. I understand we can't get about the budget, it's just trying to get the job done for
I understand, but, I don't know what you can do, but you gotta watch it. And if it's patrol time, you gotta cut it off. Patrol time's not the essential, you have to go to court.
Would anyone else desire to be recognized for questions for our police department? Street and water report.
I haven't got anything in it, we just been swamped on mowing and trying to keep the parks going and everything going. That's all I got.
Would anyone desire to be recognized for questions for our street department?
I would, Mayor. And this may not pertain to the street water department. I'm not 100% sure, because I'm still doing this and learning. But Jennifer, we had budgeted, I guess, a truck or approved something. I didn't know if we'd found anything on that yet, or if who's looking into that, or.
I think maybe Davy Herb was working on that
Oh,
truck.
okay, sorry.
Do we know when we're gonna take delivery? Any other questions? All right, our tax collection report. One desire to be recognized in regard to our tax collection report. Wastewater treatment plant, Mr. Payton is not with us tonight. Does anyone desire to be recognized in regard to that? I see nothing. Move on to water adjustments, item 7 on our agenda.
I make a motion to do the other adjustments. Well, it's not me, that's actually.
I explained that, Lane.
I
I explained it to Jess.
It says Rachel.
I know it does, because
I will state the motion as, there's a motion to approve the water adjustments. I'll call for debate. Alderman Horn, you made that motion. Do you wish debate on that motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Alderman Stafford, do you desire debate on this motion? Does anyone want to speak on this motion? All right, I will call the question.
Brandon. Jess. Larry. Christie. James. Wayne.
I will never know it.
That motion passes. The water adjustments have been approved. Next item on our agenda is business license, and we have none. We'll move on to old business. Item A on the agenda is Killing Locust Street project. Does anyone desire to speak on that?
Yeah, it's, the street is done basically except from what Mr. Coltron's got to bring. We just need to stop it. Rogers Boys needs to seed it, rake it, clean it up, and wrap it up. Finish it. But it doesn't need to be done with the present employees. It's be done with the existing city employees, or the street department employees. It's time to stop it. It's time to stop it. I believe that it's time to close it up and the locals see it and forget about it.
Do you desire to make a motion?
Well, yes, we have to, I make a motion that the Locust Street project be completely stopped as is and to be reopened. Now, is there two motions or one?
It's your motion and it may need rewording.
That it be reopened for Rogers and his employees to finish the seeding, cleaning up Locust Street, and turn it over. All except for the water problems that we have that Mr. Coltron's going to address.
Okay, your motion's a little bit long and meandering. We have an ordinance that states that all motions are to be put in writing, and I think that's to curtail any confusion. We've never adhered to that ordinance, that our motions be in writing. My suggestion is we take up the first motion that the Locust Street project be stopped as is. In other words, the temporary employees that were hired for that purpose no longer work for the Locust Street project, and that our street department resume the duties of that department. Would that be a fair starting point?
Why is it that we, when Mr. Stafford presented to you the ordinance regarding what our agenda should be, you said we didn't follow that based on tradition, but you're making this much more difficult now and changing everything without, I mean, even consulting anyone, trying to.
Your comments are not germane, so I'll call the meeting back to order and try to get us back on task. How do you want your motion stated?
That we just kill the Locust Street project.
We have a motion, and I will state the motion that we have a motion to kill the Locust Street project. I will open the floor for debate. Alderman Stafford, this is your motion. I'll allow you to speak on that motion. I'll give you the floor.
I've made my motion.
Anyone desire to speak further on that motion?
One point of clarification. When they laid the asphalt, there was a strip on the north end of Locust that did not get laid, and I would like to avoid a question if the asphalt people say we now have the asphalt. I would think we would want to make an exception as to the asphalt that has not yet been got. How much, it's not very much, but on the very north end of Locust, I would think the motion as stated might cause some confusion if they show up with the asphalt. If we say Cody's been killed, I would think that we would want to at least authorize, and I would assume, because the sticking point seems to be the personnel, that Roger is going to supervise that anyway, are you not?
What's that going on?
Isn't there some asphalt that's to be laid on the north part that
nobody ever said anything to me about it.
Well,
This right here,
yeah,
I
well,
think that's what Jess was trying to say in his motion until things got complicated. And I don't remember putting any of the other motions that we've done this meeting, so we're in writing, so.
well, I'm just saying that, for instance, along the 2-foot strip, there's no asphalt at all, there may even,
Yeah, and it's causing the water
Yeah.
issues, which,
and all I'm saying is, if you're gonna kill the project, that's fine, but do we not need to leave leeway when that asphalt, when they're ready, they only lay that asphalt every so often when they have to, they're not gonna come over and patch the pothole.
As a point of order, you may amend the motion or make a motion at a later time to address that.
So it's different, if you would agree, you might want to amend it.
But you would have the opportunity to make a motion to amend.
No, I'm not gonna make those amendments, I'm just telling that to avoid later confusion.
well, I would.
Let's just get, it's still open for discussion, and
If someone wants to be recognized, I'll yield the floor to them for debate.
You know what I'm talking about, Larry. Okay.
we're getting sort of point of order here after last week.
Just another point of order, we need to allow the other members of the board an opportunity to speak before you have a second chance to speak on this. Would any other member of the board like an opportunity to speak on this matter? Alderman Stafford, would you like the floor?
Yes,
I will yield the floor to you, sir.
I would like to amend the motion for the Locust Street. And a little discussion before I make the motion. If we make it just to kill labor, just kill labor on the Locust Street as is, that kills the project. Then we can open it back up at any time, in Mr. Coach's at a later date. If we approve what he does and Roger does, we will bring it back up. Killing it doesn't move it, it's still out there on Locust Street, it's still there. And we cannot remove personnel in an open meeting. But we are eventually going to do away with the employees, so I just completely withdraw my motion.
That motion has been withdrawn. All right, next item on our agenda, Locust Street water problem. Does anyone desire to be recognized to speak on that matter? Mr. Stafford, I'll yield the floor to you.
Mr. Coachman, I assume that he is referring to your projections and how to repair the water problem on Locust Street with your pictures that are in here.
I'm not sure, is that, Mr. Mayor, is that what you're talking about, is the standing water on Locust Street? Where it says Locust Street water problem?
I'm assuming that's what it refers to.
If it is, hopefully you all have a copy of the picture and letter that was sent back, so, it's a situation where a patch was put in and the patch is lower than the gutter to the east of it. The water can't get up and out of the patch and into the gutter. Uphill's not the direction that water's in travel, so. And then there's a little section of gutter lip that's a little high that also stops the water from getting up and over into that section, so it's something that needs to be brought up to the proper elevation and a little piece of the gutter taken out and replaced at a lower elevation to allow the water to. The other piece that we discussed earlier, I believe that Mr. Reisha was talking about, is a little farther north toward the end of the project where they haven't put the widening asphalt in yet, which is a matter of the asphalt company's coming in and laying the asphalt into that 2-foot wide section there. So there's two different things here. The water piece that we're talking about here is what you all asked me to look at last time we met. And so we unfortunately it didn't rain, but we went out and were able to find what we believe is the situation. And I think if those repairs are made, that will take care of it. And then keep in mind, this project was to get the street open and then use it moving. At some point in the future, the beautification of coming through it and milling a profile and re-putting new surface down will be done. That'll make it a perfect project, but right now, that gets you to an open street that functions and does what it's supposed to do, which was the main intent at the beginning of the project was to minimize the cost of the project and get the street widened and get the sidewalks.
Are there any motions to be made regarding the Locust Street water problem?
And I don't make a motion, I'll make a discussion.
Okay, I'll open the floor for discussion. I'll yield the floor to you.
The question on the Locust Street water problem, can Roger repair it?
Can you mill down an inch or two and
It has to be milled, yes, and back in relayed. So the way the road lays, it gets milled off and then relayed. In that one
yeah,
area.
it's so close to the right elevation, they're so close, that if you lay just a half inch of asphalt on top of there, it's gonna peel back off at some point and not last. So,
Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Coker. Sometime in the future, we hope to completely repave Locust Street. Is that about right? Somewhere down the line when we have the adequate money.
right.
And that would change a lot of the flow of the water, I assume, at the time we repaved it.
It'll just make it flow smooth. Right now, the water, as best we can tell, is that we've got one low spot that's holding some water. The rest of it appears to be moving to the inlets where it's supposed to be.
Well, my question is, if Roger could temporarily asphalt that to bring it higher than the curb, because at one time, if somewhere down the future, when we do asphalt it, it will solve the problem. It seems like if we mill, go to the expense of milling it, and do it, looks to me like we could get by at the present time with a good patch job and look to the future. Is that possible?
You're gonna redirect that water because you can't put the asphalt in at the elevation that it needs to be put in to get the water to go where it is. When you put that, when the strip is put in north, Roger, when they fill up that gap, who's gonna put the asphalt in there? I mean, does the city have a contract with somebody to come in and put asphalt in, or?
Not so forward, did you? I think they table everything on it.
As far as just in general, who patches your streets or?
APAC or Jeremy, so I talked to some of the boys, and they said later on they would be down here, doing some driveways, parking lots. And if I had some later on, they would do some work for us.
Right.
So we might be able to get them that way.
If you had some cities have a city contract with other asphalt paver that they can execute and use someone to come in and put that asphalt in. Usually that company, the piece you're talking about milling, when you talk about milling is normally a large machine that does a big thing. The piece we're talking about, you wouldn't bring a big milling machine in, you'd bring a little small milling machine in. It'd take them about a half hour to eat out the patch and be able to put back in the way it should. So I don't know how you're gonna deal with the piece that's not in place right now farther north. That would depend on a lot of what you could do with the piece that you need to repair where the low spot is.
I understand what you're saying, and I'm not recommending this by any means. What we need is a speed bump. It's not perpendicular, it's right down the middle, right?
Well, no, that's the problem. We got a speed dip, and the speed dip holds the water, but it's so close to the right elevation that when you put, you don't want to put any less than 1.5 inches of asphalt on top of there. When you put that on there, now you got a hump that stops water a little bit farther over. So it has to slope across the street to the gutter. And right now, it goes partway and then sags and then fills up and pushes on, but without cutting out enough to where you can get it back to that same elevation, you're just gonna move the water over to the side. So putting 2 inches on top of that low spot doesn't cure the situation. You just move your problem farther out into the street. But if you're going to finish the asphalt in the gaps, which I would suggest you do, instead of leaving them there for open wheel, you know, but however you're gonna do that, whether you just call a paving company or whatever, but you just have them come in and fix this patch at the same time.
Does anyone else desire to be recognized to address the matter?
I would move
Yes, sir.
this. Is there any way we can get an estimate or cost estimate on how much this might cost to fix that? Drill it down for the 30 minutes, and then when we have, when Jeremy comes back in to do this work, how long were they talking?
I don't have no idea.
Okay.
They called me, wanna know about the bids, and I told them we kinda tabled it, and we can, maybe next year we grind down a lot and relight. That's kinda what the council and the mayor wanted. And then they said, well, said, if you need something, said we'll be in town later on this fall, doing some work.
Well, it sounds like this is kind of a this is more of an issue than
The
some
grinding
patches
part
would
would be the problem. I think there would be no problem blacktopping.
Right.
They're gonna have to bring in a special machine to do this, to grind it all off in that one area.
Can we get an estimate for that?
Well, yeah, I'm sure, yeah, but it's have to get a hold of them and have someone run by and look and then give you an idea.
If we get an estimate by next meeting or something. Great. Thanks.
Any other members of the board desire to be recognized to address this matter? See no hands. Next item on the agenda, Locust Street Project maintaining Cantrell contract. Would anyone like to be recognized to discuss this matter?
I would.
Recognize Alderman Thorpe.
He's finished as of this bill, is that right? The
That
note
was
that we
my
got?
understanding.
Okay.
That's correct.
He's finished.
Anyone else desire to be recognized in regard to that matter?
Yes, I do.
Recognize Alderman Stepp.
This is an open-end contract with Donnie Cantrell, am I right? So we have to close the contract. Is that right? You're an attorney, I'm asking you, as mayor.
And I'm not going to give you my legal advice.
Well, that's worth 2 cents too.
And
Since
I'm
I
sure you are
understand-
out of order.
Since I understand this is an open-ended contract, then we have to vote to close the contract. So I make a motion to close the Donnie contract.
I will state the motion. The motion is made to close the Danny Cantrell contract. Alderman Stafford, this is your motion. I'll allow you to speak to that motion. Does anyone else desire to speak in regard to that motion?
Yeah, Danny Cantrell was an employee.
It's
And
not,
he's not,
it's not,
I thought, okay.
that's his contract.
Okay, they were, I don't know,
No, if he was an employee,
but he's not an employee.
this is for equipment
Okay.
And so it's an open-ended contract, non-employment contract.
Does anyone else?
Second?
We're a small board of less than 12, societies are required under Robert's rules. Kind of like an appetizer, they're certainly appreciated, but seconds aren't necessary. But you're more welcome. Does anyone else desire to speak on this one? I will call the question.
Larry. Brandon. Jess. Wayne.
Aye.
Christie. James.
That motion passed. Are there any other motions pertaining to the Locust Street project and Danny Canfield project? See none. Moving on to new business, Planning and Zoning Commission appointment. My understanding that our Planning and Zoning Board is up for their annual appointment. We have, I believe, 2 vacancies on that board. Is that correct? And I'll defer to Martha to speak on that. We have 2 members of the Planning and Zoning Board. One member hasn't appeared, I think, in 5 years. And the other member is planning, hasn't participated in recent meetings and plans to turn in a resignation. And we please state who those members are.
Lisa Valencia and James Nixon.
The board could approve mayor members of the board. I know Travis Dill is here this evening, and I discussed with him the potentiality of him serving on that board. He said he would. I think he would make a fine addition to the board as well. This time I'll open the floor for any motion.
This is on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we're 1 member short, is that right?
2 members.
Well, I would make a motion that Travis Gill be appointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
And is that in addition to the other,
Reappoint to the secretary.
but for the 2 members that Martha had mentioned?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
I will state the motion that the Planning and Zoning Commission members be reappointed, but for Mr. Nixon and
So, there's what I was thinking. These 2 are up, the other ones aren't up.
oh, the other
They're
one.
all the same.
Okay.
She's actually the one that's up, and he's along.
Oh,
That's why I was getting confused. But-
Okay.
So really, those are the only 2 that are up, so. Or appoint Travis, we don't reappoint.
Okay. So moved.
okay. Let me state the motion that Travis Dill is appointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission in place of the previous member. I will open the floor for debate. I'll recognize Alderman Rachel. Would you like to speak on that motion?
Travis is a fine fellow.
How much you pay him?
A lot.
Does anyone else desire to speak on that motion? All right, I'll call the question.
Wayne,
Aye.
Brandon,
Aye.
James, Christie. Jess. Larry.
All right, that motion passes. Travis Dill is now a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And there were 2 people.
Yes, so Lisa
And we still have 1 vacancy. Okay. Excuse me, Board of Adjustment appointment, and I will defer to Martha to explain that to us.
We have 1 person that's up for reappointment, Patty Weston. She does a good job serving on the board. Generally always
The chair will recognize anyone desiring to make a motion in regard to that appointment.
Who is it?
Patty Weston.
state the question. There is a motion on the floor to appoint Patty Weston to the Board of Adjustment. Alderman Horn, this is your motion. I'll allow you to speak first. Does anyone else desire to be recognized to speak on this matter? I will call the question.
Jess,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Brandon, Wayne,
Aye.
Larry.
The motion passes. Patty Weston is appointed to the Board of Adjustment. Next item on the agenda is the stop sign at Main and Maple. Anyone desire the floor to speak on this matter?
I do.
I recognize Alderman Horn.
I had previously discussed this with our chief, Sam Hartzell, as I believe that you are kind of in charge of making sure that stop signs get put up and directing traffic and all of that good stuff. And you had also mentioned earlier to include one at Cedar and Main.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people approach me about desiring one at Cedar and Main to comply with the other intersections. All the other intersections have stop signs except for that one. And it's a through street, people have all good suggestions. And I know the one that you're talking about was brought up before, when we were talking about broadening the highway 73 through there. And they talk about that and also talk about four-way stop right there. And then it was brought because we were trying to get a grant and then the grant fell through.
And it's my understanding, I don't know that we need a motion to approve these as in the ordinance book. I think that's your, kind of your responsibility, but it's on the agenda to kind of get everybody's good blessing, because I think there was some confusion with some previous stop signs, and I just was hoping not to have that happen again.
The only suggestion I can say is if we do this, we really need to make people aware of it.
Yes.
Because they're so customarily used to that being a through street.
Mhm.
Don't take a walk with the people.
Yes.
I will recognize any other alderman who desires to speak on this matter.
And we're talking about Maple and Main. In 100 years, there's been no stop sign there. And when you put a four-way there, I think you're gonna have more wrecks than you had before. And I think some people probably go out and go around the square, not even just go without that stop sign. And I think if you put signs up there that stop pedestrians and crosswalk, you don't need no four-way stop there. And I'm again the stop sign of Maple and Main. Everybody wants to know.
Does any other alderman desire to speak on this matter? I will.
James has one reasonably good point. And back in Oak Grove first edition, when they put up a series of stop signs, it's like Hickory down by the park. When you change the flow of traffic that's been there for many years, you're gonna have people running through those stop signs. Like, nobody's business. They'll do that.
What you need to do is throw those, if that's intersection, move those cars back one where you see. We got that wheelchair over there, you need to move that on farther south one time, you're gonna lose some there, but we got a new parking lot over there. And, you know, a lot of it you just can't see, you don't need a four-way stop, you just can't see when you come out, when you're going east or west. Everybody agree?
And I will yield the floor to myself and speak briefly on this matter. I can say when we added stop signs on Hickory Street south of the new park, I had a lot of people saying that's the worst thing, or the best thing you've ever done, Mr. Mayor. I've had people say that's the worst thing.
It is the worst thing, as far as I'm concerned.
And I understand that. I understand that.
I drive through it 8 times every day.
And I think
The one down to the bridge has no purpose whatsoever.
and I have the floor. I think the input is about 50-50 on that. I think that people were calling for those stop signs there because of the children that travel to the park.
It don't help a bit.
As far as downtown is concerned, I've talked to Mr. Coltrane, an engineer, about this on several occasions. We talked about putting an island out there and and considering how to do that and make it functional to where people understand the stop signs there. It's clear, it makes sense with the flow of traffic. Matter of fact, when I was in Springfield last week, I saw a wonderful island on the southwest corner of Cox North. It's grassy and aesthetically pleasing, and it looks like it's a functional part of the area that has a stop sign, and it seems to look and work and function well there. And I think this is a matter that is best taken up in the greater scheme of looking at a comprehensive plan for downtown. And I will yield the floor to anyone else who desires to talk in this matter. No one has sought the floor. I will move to the next item on the agenda, budget revision, fiscal year ending September 30th of 2013. I will defer to Debbie Colton on this matter.
There is a summary sheet. This was all stuff that I brought before the budget committee at their last meeting, and it does include the $25,000 for the fire department.
So we need to approve this, Debbie?
That normally we do approve it halfway through the year. March 31st was our 6 months end of year, and just in the ordinary course of business, the city goes over budget. A lot of this was stuff that was brought to the board to approve, but we still need to put it back in the budget as a separate step.
I would move that we approve the revised budget.
We have a motion. Alderman Horn, you made that motion. I will yield the floor to you for debate. Would any other alderman like to speak on this matter? I will call the question. I will state the motion that there is a motion to approve the budget revision fiscal year ending September 30, 2013, as stated in the alderman packet. Alderman Horn has debated. There is no other alderman seeking the floor for debate, and I will call the question.
Wayne?
Aye.
James?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
Christie? Jess? Larry?
That motion passes. The budget revision fiscal year ending September 30th, 2013, as stated in the council packet, has been approved. Next item on our agenda is appointment of firefighter Kenny Schwegman. And I will refer to our fire chief on that matter.
Kenny's been on the fire department before. He had to move out for a job. He's back. He's back on the phone.
I'll open the floor for any motions relating to that appointment.
I'll make a motion that we approve
I will state that motion. There's a sitting motion on the floor for the appointment of firefighter Kenny Schwegman. Alderman Canal, I will defer to you for debate on this matter. Would any other alderman desire to be recognized in debate of this matter? See none, I will call the question.
Jess?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Brandon? Wayne?
Wayne? Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Christie? Yes.
That motion passes. Kenny Schwegman is appointed firefighter. Two items I have moved to the new business. Alderman Horn had a motion relating to the fire department. I will yield the floor to Alderman Horn.
We approved that in revising the budget, so I don't feel like I need to discuss that.
Okay. And the walking paths at the new park after the Hills Fire Marshal out. Alderman Stafford, have your questions been satisfied?
Yes.
We'll move on to item 11. Ordinances, bill number 13-03, an ordinance repealing the zoning map, Buffalo, Missouri, of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Buffalo, Missouri, and acting in lieu thereof, a map to be known as the zoning map of Buffalo, Missouri. I will refer to Debbie Polston on that matter.
It's Martha. You need to ask on that one.
We'll defer to Mark. You state the issue before.
Mr. Letton, who's in the back row, came to the Planning and Zoning Commission and requested that his property be rezoned. You can get out maps. His property is the old Cantlin Funeral Home. Very nice, do y'all know where that is? He's wanting to put a flea market in that, so he requested it be rezoned. Planning and Zoning Commission, it went through the whole process with the public hearings, and they have suggested that you all rezone from Pine Street to Elm Street, which goes to the VFW Hall. There's nothing in the section except for really the call into land except for the property that he has. Just go ahead and lengthen that back 300 feet, 350 feet, cover that section. So this is the final step. If you all approve it, then we
Did you
can
say
rezone the
they-
business.
They've been through the board of zoning.
Yes, yeah, we have to put a public hearing and notice in the paper, and then they have a meeting with the Planning and Zoning Commission. And there was nobody that came in attendance to object at all. And we did post it on the land too, and sent letters to the VFW and to the church, and none of them responded.
I would move that we approve planning and zoning ordinances.
All right, I will state the motion. The motion is a motion to approve the first reading of the planning and zoning ordinance that is submitted in our Alderman packet. Alderman Horn, you made the motion. I'll let you speak first in debate. All right, does any other Alderman wish to speak on this matter? If none, I will call the question.
Brandon? Wayne?
Aye.
James?
Aye.
Christie? Aye. Larry?
Aye.
Jess?
Motion passes the first reading, approving the zoning ordinance is passed. The chair will entertain motions regarding the second reading of said motion, or said ordinance.
I'll move that we have second reading to approve the ordinances.
I'll state the motion. Alderman Horn has made a motion to approve the ordinance in second reading. Alderman Horn, I will yield the floor to you for a debate. Does any other alderman desire to debate on this matter? I will call the question.
James?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
Wayne?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Jess? Christie?
Aye.
That motion passes. Bill number 13-03 is approved by the Board of Aldermen. Item B, bill number 13-04, an ordinance to amend the city code of the city of Buffalo by adding a new section, which section shall be designated as section 215.270 of chapter 215, article 4 of said code. I will introduce that is a ordinance relating to funeral protest that was drafted by our city attorney. That was put on the agenda to be considered at the request of our county commissioner. The county has adopted a similar ordinance, and they requested perhaps the city do the same in order to match up with the county. Our city attorney is not here. I'm hopeful he will be here shortly. We want to table this until a later time, perhaps after the closed meeting. Our city attorney is here to take up that matter.
I'll make a motion we adopt the ordinance.
We have a motion. I will state the motion. The motion is to adopt bill number 13-04, an ordinance to amend the city code relating to funeral protests. Alderman Canal, I will defer to you for debate on this matter as the maker of the motion. Would any other alderman desire to speak on this matter? I will call the question.
Christie?
Yes.
Wayne?
Aye.
Jess?
Aye.
Brandon?
Yes.
Larry?
Aye.
James?
Aye.
Motion passes. Bill 1304, an ordinance to amend the city code in relation to funeral protest has been passed. Next item on our agenda. Oh, we do need a second reading. The chair will entertain a second reading of said motion. Or or motion to approve the second set of ordinance?
I will make that motion.
We have a motion to approve the second reading of bill number 13-04. I will yield the floor to Alderman Rachel. Would you like to speak on behalf of the motion?
No, Your Honor.
Would anyone else desire to speak on that motion? I will call the question.
Larry,
Aye.
Christie. Aye. James.
Aye.
Jess. Brandon.
Aye.
Wayne.
Aye.
That motion passes. Bill number 13-04 is approved to be enacted into law relating to. Next item on our agenda is item 12, citizen comments. Do we have any citizen comments this evening? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question from earlier when you were talking about the overtime of the police department. My question is, if a policeman gets a call, like at the end of his shift, that then goes into overtime, correct? Okay, so if that goes into overtime, what are you supposed to do? How is he gonna cut that? Does that police officer not go on that call? Or does he just wait until the next police officer comes on and is ready and say, you have to go on this call, and the other one leaves? You know, I guess that's my question, because it just doesn't make any sense that he would set all these people up to patrolmen to go, you know, on overtime. But I know for a fact that things like that happen all the time, because we've called, you know, someone and it's been the end of his shift and he's had to come, you know, to the house and take a report and the whole thing, and he's now on overtime, correct? So what happens?
And these are kind of, these are things that do occur in the ordinary course of police work. Our police department doesn't build stereos. They don't clock off at 5 and go home.
Right.
Our police department operates a little differently than our other departments do. They have different obligations, different duties, of course. And I can state from my personal experience as a former assistant prosecuting attorney, several occasions we'd have an officer who was going to end their shift at 6 in the morning. Their investigation runs until 8 o'clock in the morning, and then they're in my office with a probable cause statement at 9, hoping to get something filed so that they can keep the bad guy in jail. And this happened at one point in time. This is something that's an ongoing occurrence, and it is important. And I know you mentioned, well, the officer at 6 o'clock clock off, and have the next officer stay where you're at until Officer Jones can clock on and get here. It's one of those things where the arresting officer is the officer who's conducting the investigation and needs to take the time to make a report and fulfill his duties as an officer.
Okay, well, because I'm just wondering, I know that happens, and I'm sure it doesn't happen every day, but I would think that does happen more than, you know, not. And so I understand that everyone has to stay in budget. I understand that. I own a business and you have to stay within your budget. But sometimes, like a police department or a fire department, you know, there's going to be times when that's going to be really tough because things happen. And if you want to keep those people off and into, you know, take them off the streets, then that means you're going to have to go when you're called. And I know that means overtime. And
that is the nature of the business of law enforcement. And
right.
As our proclamation read earlier, this is Law Enforcement Week, and, you know, there are officers who aren't going to have the chance to go and clock off. There are officers that are
Yeah.
killed in the line of duty. There are officers that are killed on the line of duty on Christmas Day.
Yes, and
there-
I know all that, and I understand that, and like I said, I do understand that everybody has to watch every penny that they spend. But I'm just kinda trying to maybe give him a little bit of a break that, you know, I don't believe that the chief, you know, is doing this and giving these people overtime just for the heck of it.
And we are blessed in Buffalo. We do have reserve officers, and they work very hard for nothing.
Yeah, I've met a couple of them.
And that picks up a little bit of the slack.
Yeah.
But we can't really, in good faith, say, hey, we need more volunteer hours to help with our budget. We take what we can get, and it's nice that we have that available to us. Does anyone have anything else for citizen comments? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question. How many paid police officers in this town now?
Sam, do we have seven full-time officers?
Is that enough to, that's not enough, is it? The town that I was born and raised in is a population of 1,500 people, and we have 14. This town does not have enough paid police officers. Yes, this town has not been given enough money to even raise these police force, and that's all I have to say.
Are there any other citizen comments? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to know when are the meetings going to be held in standards of tradition, and when are they going to be held in standards of the ordinances? You did make a comment earlier about that's not how we did it. We just do this in tradition. And I've noticed through the meeting, there's been several comments made by certain aldermen outside of them having the floor. They were not redirected, however, several other aldermen were redirected. So I just want to know where's that line going to come?
And that's my fault, and I need to do a little bit better job of making sure people talk in order, and that we're respectful of one another, that comments are germane. From what I've read in Robert's Rules of Order, it's a good book to set forth practice and procedure, but it's very much so a book on etiquette. And it's designed to make the meeting run smooth. It's designed to make the meeting be ordered so that we're not here at midnight beating our heads against the wall.
Then my next question is what is your plan when you piss off all the aldermen to the point where they don't want to work with you anymore because of the comments made at the meetings?
Well, ma'am, if you ask a personal question, I'll give you a personal answer. I think the aldermen are pissed off. They don't want to work with me, and that happened 6 months ago.
Is this going to make it better?
I don't know. I don't know. You know the old saying, if you do what you've always done, then you'll always get what you've always got. And I would certainly like to make the meeting run a little bit smoother and certainly a little more on point. I will remind the aldermen that we do have an informal meeting set on May 23rd at 7 p.m. at Maple Street Grill. And that's designed to sit down and have dinner together and talk about where we can go in the future. And the reason for that is we've got a sales tax that was approved a year ago, a half-cent sales tax for capital improvement. And I think the voters who voted for that because they saw things happen. They saw sidewalks being built on Main Street, not Maple Street, and they had faith in their government to go in and revitalize our town, to take care of those things that have been neglected for so long. And I personally believe we owe a duty to those citizens to invest this money. I think after 3 years, and there's a 3-year sunset on that tax, after 3 years, if we tell the citizens, look, we've got almost $1 million saved up, they're not going to be happy with us. I think our citizens want to see things get done. They want to see money spent. They want to see improvements in their town. And it's up to the mayor and the board of aldermen to be good leaders and to plan and to do things for our constituents. And that's the focus of this meeting.
I have a citizen's comment. I'm sorry, were you gonna?
I was just gonna say, I just don't feel like the rigid changes in the way the meeting was done is beneficial to you as the mayor, the board of aldermen, or the citizens, because I feel like there was question and conversation that couldn't happen because of the way the meeting was run. I understand that there's that there are some issues between whether people can get along or not, but ultimately, it's the citizens that have to pay for the problems that come about in the board.
Sure.
I would also recommend or ask that the board consider increasing the budget of the police department. We have the capital improvement fund. If that's an issue, and if those officers are working valid overtime and spending a lot of time in court, then, the budget needs to allow for that, because it's not gonna change.
Certainly, and there's an ebb and tide with that as well. Some months are bad, some months are great.
Exactly.
But in the end, it all balances out.
I had a comment.
Yes,
As
ma'am.
a citizen, I feel like you, as Christine mentioned, have made everybody mad to the point where we don't want to work with you, but we're trying to work together and you're making it impossible. And I would also like to say that time is important. I have a family, I have 4 kids, and I'm trying to run a business. And we've already had tons of meetings, 3, I think, well, at least 2 town hall meetings to discuss with citizens how to spend the capital improvement tax. And I think that we need to honor what they've already said, that they would like to see the money spent on, and get on with it, and stop continuing to spin our wheels with meetings.
Certainly, and we need to formulate plans on how to effectuate that, and that's kind of what this dinner meeting
And
is.
we did work on that with the budget committee meeting. I felt like that you also attended and did not participate at all. And we were trying to formulate plans and try to figure out how to spend that money according to what the citizens asked.
I was at the meeting and I wasn't addressed, but I was happy to offer my input. I do want to ask you a question, that you said that I've made it impossible for the board to work. Can you explain how I've made it impossible?
It was very difficult to work together in this meeting, I felt.
And I'll explain briefly that the purpose of meetings is to conduct business, to hear motions and to move forward. And a lot of what we've done, and what we've traditionally done, and that's fine that we proceed that way, is our alderman meetings are kind of a learning session. We defer to our experts in the audience. We defer to our department heads for information. And I think for meetings to flow and function and be quicker so that you can spend time with your family, as can I, that we all have our homework done, that we talk to Roger prior to meetings, that we talk to Mr. Coldren prior to meetings, that we have motions prepared already based on our homework being done, that we say, hey, we've talked a lot about the potentiality of improving downtown. I so make the motion that we allocate to the $25,000 from the capital improvement fund so that Mr. Coldren can do a survey and look at what we've got downtown to approve it. And then Mr. Coldren will do so, report to the board. We might have a 3-phase plan, and we put that in action. But we've had the tax for a year. We've done a lot of homework, as Alderman Horn has pointed out, but we haven't taken any action. And that's kind of the purpose of the Maple Street meeting. How do we put our boots on the ground and get moving on this? And the goal of that, Alderman Horn, is so that I'm not making it impossible, so that we can have a less structured meeting where we're not there necessarily for business per se, but we're to talk about what we want to do and how we want to go about doing it. And then we go out the next morning and we start working.
But you have not been consistent. So it's just the way that you want to run things, so it's fine. Can we move on?
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, Christie. And when I lived in Colorado, I was involved with town meeting big time. You could not go to a town meeting as an alderman or a participant with a chip on your shoulder. And I see that on 2 people all the time in this meeting. And I will say this, Trustee, you're young, you're doing a great job, but it takes a lot of grit, patience, and understanding to understand his idea, hers, his. You've all got different ideas, and you cannot come to a town hall meeting with, I'm gonna do this, Bob. That, you can't do that, honey.
Completely agree.
But, I think you've all done pretty good working together. But I would like to address Jeff. I do realize and I thought it was funny. I had trouble with 911 myself, and so I can understand why he was cop did it. When I need help, Jeff, I don't even go through 911. But, you know, that's over. You need to forget it. Because way you spoke to this man tonight was not nice. I think the world of you, you've been a good city leader, but you can't talk to each other that way. I think a lot of you guys start working together. Wayne knows what I'm talking about.
I think Rodney King had it right. Why can't we just all get along?
You got it, Wayne. You got it.
And I'm certainly ready for that. You know, I went on Cracker Barrel with the stated purpose of talking about how great Buffalo was and the good things going on here. And we had a caller from Springfield who talked about how nice Buffalo was. We had a caller from, I believe, Ozark that said good things about Buffalo. But we had an alderman who called in in attack mode. We had a former candidate for mayor who called in attack mode, and that doesn't show that there's the intent to work together and for cohesion. And I would certainly hope that we can all stop with the allegations and the pointing fingers and really start working together to better our city. I mean, we've done amazing things in the last 2 years.
I know, and another thing I want to comment, I came to this area in 81. And when I first come here, all the old timers, they didn't like us new people.
They still don't.
And, you know, seriously, Larry Hicks knows what I'm getting at. This town, if you're going to make a change, you're going to have it here. But you've got to work together. You cannot come to a meeting and have a chip on your shoulder. You can't. And you've got to respect each other.
You're right. And
If it wasn't for law enforcement, Jeff, my mother didn't want me. My family didn't want me. It was trying to be uniform that made me what I am today.
Well, ma'am, I will make a motion before this board that we all work together from here on out.
I think you all should.
Yes, sir.
Request the floor.
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we close this meeting pursuant to section 610.021 for personnel.
Sir, your motion is out of order. I will ask, is there any further citizen comments?
I have one last one.
Yes,
When
ma'am.
you guys were talking about the stop sign on,
Maple and Main.
yes. I have, every time I go on that, I hate going on that road, and every so often I find myself on there, and I hate that corner. And every time I'm on that corner, I think they need to push back, you know, the parking spots. They shouldn't be, you know, like 1 or 2 parking spots. Make them so that they don't have the parking so close to the corners, because then people would be able to see. I don't think it has to have a 4-way stop. I think it has to have, you know, like maybe 3 or 4 less parking spots on each side.
That's what this man in the turquoise shirt does for a living.
Okay, well, there you go. But honestly, I have thought that every time time.
I think that every time I get there too, and it's, you can't see, and it's like playing Russian roulette with your car.
I know, you
Yeah,
just go
okay.
out a little
I
bit
agree.
and see, and then you
But
think, oh, somebody's
If
gonna
you
hit me.
approach the businesses downtown and told them, you know, what if we took away some parking? That would kind of be a sensitive subject.
Well,
So it's either take away some parking and then you have no parking for patrons to patron the businesses, or put a stop sign up. So,
But you know, that road is so wide.
it is pretty wide.
There's no reason you have the diagonal parking on one side. You can have diagonal parking on the other side.
And then they
And
stick
you-
out farther.
But you can still, but you can still take a couple of those spots away and see. I just think that that's,
Yes, sir.
I would just like to thank everybody on the, I have been members of, not sitting out for a lot of boards. They always have ups and downs and feuds and whatever, but Buffalo is growing, it's going in the right direction. And I would like to thank each and every one of you putting up with, whoever you have to put up with to get it done.
And I can say I appreciate it, I'm speaking for the board, we appreciate that because we do hear some negativity from time to time. Do we have any further public comments? Yes, sir.
Our next meeting will be on Memorial Night. You want to change it?
Sir, we scheduled a meeting for the 23rd at Maple Street Grill, and we could possibly skip that last meeting of the month. I know we skipped meetings in the past. Our ordinances only require that we have one meeting a month. But it's up to the board. Does anyone desire to make a motion in regard to the meeting scheduled on the 27th? Oh, yeah. Let me state your motion. Your motion is to skip the meeting on the 27th?
I didn't say that.
Okay, your motion is to reset the meeting on the 27th.
I asked what happened on that.
Oh, I guess then yours, it's not a motion, it's a point of order.
It's not.
Well, Debbie, we normally don't have meetings on Memorial Day, Labor Day, et cetera. Is that correct?
Correct,
In the ordinary course of business, we either skip the meeting or move it.
correct.
Have we got any upcoming meeting that needs to be addressed towards the end of the month, Debbie? That you know
Not
of?
that I know of at this time.
Then I would make a motion we skip it.
We have a motion on the floor to skip that. Would you like to have the floor and debate about that motion? All right, does anyone else desire to speak on that motion? All right, I will call the question.
James? Larry? Brandon?
Aye.
Jess? Wayne? Christie?
Aye.
That motion passes. We will skip the last meeting last Monday of the month, the 27th. All right. Now your motion is.
I vote, or make a motion to go into closed session under 610.021, subsection 3, to discuss personnel.
I will state the motion. The motion is to go into closed meeting. Alderman Riesel, I will yield the floor to you for debate.
No debate.
Does any other alderman wish to speak on this matter? I will call the question.
Christie?
Yes.
James? Wayne?
Yeah.
Larry? Jess? Brandon?
That motion passes. We will